5 years ago, I was at a friend's house and was walking out of their door, jumped towards my car, and I heard this scream. It wasn't human.
Been hunting in Kisatchie, and I seen a head coming through the woods, and I was going, oh, look at there's somebody walking through the woods without an orange hat on. So I put my scope on it, and I was like...
If these encounters were nothing more than coincidence, then somebody needs to explain why the same disturbing pattern keeps repeating itself. Tonight, we're bringing you 8 wilderness encounters where something feels wrong long before it's ever seen. Deep in remote forests and isolated locations, people begin to notice movements without explanation, sounds without a source, and a presence that never fully reveals itself. The question isn't what they found out there. The question is whether it was already there before they arrived. Tonight, we're looking at 8 chilling encounters that continue to puzzle the people who experience them. With temperatures in the 80s, endless blue skies overhead, and not a cloud in sight, the wilderness seemed almost too perfect. On Wildlife Dreams, a lone hiker ventured into Kentucky's remote backcountry in August 2013, expecting nothing more than a peaceful day on the trail. But the deeper the journey went, the more the forest silence felt deliberate, turning an ordinary hike into the beginning of something far more unsettling lurking beyond the trees.
I arrived at the trailhead the second week of August 2013, and the weather was pleasant. It was probably in the 80s. Hardly a cloud in the sky. I like to walk alone because it's kind of meditative to me. It's great for thinking and hashing things out in your mind. The section I'm hiking is on the border of Rock Castle and Laurel County in Kentucky. The day was only about 15 miles, and I wanted to go a whole lot longer, just so I didn't have to hike as much the next day.
As darkness swallowed the wilderness, the hiker settled in for the night, unaware that the forest's watchful silence was about to turn hostile. Hours later, a sudden jolt ripped through his shelter, violently dragging him from sleep. For a terrifying moment, it felt as though something had struck the tent from outside. From sleep, in pure panic, his body crawling with ants, swarming across his face, arms and skin, they seemed endless. He stumbled into the darkness, wildly tearing them away, but every desperate attempt only unleashed a fresh wave of burning bites, transforming the campsite into chaos.
A couple hours into sleep, I wake up to something crawling on me. Got up out of my tarp, started running around like a crazy man. I must have set my tent up over an anthill. The ants are crawling all over my body, all over my arms, all over my face. I swat them off me, and that just angers them, and they start biting me all over.
Then, a strange sound rose from the ridge below, bringing him to an immediate halt. Deep in the wilderness, where darkness swallows every landmark, even a single noise can feel unsettling. But this carries a different weight. Something was moving through the trees with purpose. Then the movement abruptly broke, as if whatever was out there had suddenly detected something. In that moment, the forest stopped feeling like wilderness and started feeling like territory, and he was no longer alone within it.
It was moving around like it was startled.
Hey, who's there? Who's there?
Just as exhaustion pulled him back to sleep, a heavy presence returned. Powerful footsteps moved beside the tent, making the tarp shudder with every step. Whatever was outside carried immense weight, far beyond any familiar woodland animal. Only inches away, it lingered in the darkness, circling the campsite with an unsettling sense of purpose.
I crawl back in my sleeping bag and don't even worry about the sound and fall right back asleep. I wake up again to something big on the side of my tent.
The fire died, and he fled in terror as he saw what looked like the Bigfoot legend right behind him, a massive, dark figure moving through the trees. Panic took over as he ran through the forest, never gaining distance. Even after it vanished, the certainty remained. Something had been there, following him.
I wanted to run, but I didn't know where to run to. A lot of times with large predators, if you run, they think that you are some sort of prey. It terrified me.
Cold air sweeps through the cave like a living current, moisture dripping from jagged stone ceilings, while narrow tunnels swallow every echo into absolute silence. From the channel, exploring with Angelo, the expedition continues. The deeper they advance, the weight of the darkness grows, as if the stone itself is aware of their presence. A sudden movement breaks the stillness. Something massive and unnatural drops from the shadows, surging out from the path they entered, while a sharp whistle slices through the tunnel behind them.
It came from this area here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You heard it too, right?
Yeah, exactly where we came from. I did say I saw something that looked like it was peeking out at the other caverns at the other end.
Down that way?
Yeah, all the way kind of where we came in from. What the hell was that? You heard whistling, right?
Yeah. Whistling. Yeah.
Hello?
No one knows if it's supernatural activity or an unknown creature in these woods. Answers remain unclear. The region is filled with long-standing Bigfoot reports passed through generations. Every shadow feels intentional, every sound misplaced. This wilderness doesn't feel empty. It feels watched, active, and holding something still waiting to be revealed.
But, yeah, there have also been a lot of rumors of Bigfoot in this territory as well. The last time we were out here, we were in a completely different spot, and we caught something on camera. You good back there?
Yeah.
Still trying to fix your light?
I got my camera.
Oh.
What's it outside?
Yeah. Yeah, it's right over there. But, yeah, are you ready to go to the mine, Chris?
Let's do it.
Yeah? You ready to go to the mine, Mo?
Let's do it, man.
All right. You guys all heard that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tunnel feels wrong from the very first step. Cold air rushing through it like something is alive deep inside, breathing back at them. Each step feels heavier, like the ground is aware of them. Something unseen stays close just beyond sight. The noise returns, broken, directionless, and wrong reality slipping out of control. Then from the void, a clear voice cuts through everything sinister.
Yeah, let's run the necrometer in here. All right, well, I'm about to use a device that you can communicate on with me. What was that? What the is that?
Explain.
What is that noise?
They stood, motionless, staring at the truck now crushed with brutal fresh dents as if something immense had grabbed it in passing. No crash, no tires, no explanation, just deep, violent impact scars in the metal. The air felt wrong and heavy. Whatever did this didn't arrive loudly, it simply was there, then gone, leaving only silence behind. With reports of Bigfoot attacks and dented vehicles found deep in the woods, was this truck really dented by Bigfoot? Or is something else out there responsible for it?
Dude, look at that.
What happened?
His truck is all dented. What?
Oh.
Wait, that wasn't like that?
No. The rust, yes.
What the f?
Actually?
Bro.
Bro, something dented it. That was what we heard.
That's crazy.
Wait, you think a car like drove through here?
No, there's no way. We would have heard it.
Like, this is a private road.
Yeah.
What?
Marks.
Huh.
Like, other than, like, the dirt and stuff.
Wait, what could have done that? Maybe like
I don't know. I mean, it's possible, yeah.
Bro.
A deafening crack exploded through the forest like something enormous had been thrown straight into the trees. Then everything went wrong. No wind, no birds, just the slow protest of wood bending under unseen force. Something was moving again, closer this time, measured, heavy, patient, as if it already knew they were listening.
You know, I'm glad it's not raining anymore. It's been raining like endlessly. What was that? Whoa! Shit! Okay. I don't know what that was. Again, it sounded like almost like something was thrown. Okay. I don't know if like a tree is about to collapse or something, but...
A lone night investigation deep within an isolated forest cabin takes a horrifying turn when the silence is shattered by an unexpected presence. Jasko documents what begins as a routine overnight exploration, only for the darkness to reveal that he and his companions are no longer alone. As Jasko recounts the events of that night, he describes how a stranger suddenly appeared at the cabin, turning what was supposed to be a quiet getaway into one of the most terrifying experiences of his life.
There's not another house, there's not a store, there's not a neighbor, anybody for miles, right? There's no service, there's no running water, there's no TV, for God's sake. This is literally that cliche horror movie like, yeah, you know, my parents own a cabin in the woods, let's go stay there for the weekend. And then they get brutally murdered one by one. And crazy enough, our first night in this cabin, someone showed up to the cabin. We were not alone. Someone showed up, and it was one of the most terrifying things that I've ever experienced in my life.
The night descends into pure dread as unsettling voices drift through the darkness, followed by heavy, deliberate footsteps closing in around the isolated cabin. Every sound strips away another layer of certainty until a sharp disturbance erupts at the back door, forcing the chilling realization that whatever was stalking them had finally reached the cabin itself.
My footstep on the fucking deck.
Hold on. Hold on a sec. Dude, like the only thing I'm like thinking about is like, whoa! Chris, that was the back door. That was the back door.
As unsettling tales surrounding the forest's haunted reputation echo through the conversation, even the slightest movement is enough to ignite suspicion. For a brief moment, uncertainty grips the group before the tension quietly dissolves. Yet despite the reassurance, the forest's suffocating silence leaves the uneasy feeling that its darkest secrets remain hidden among the trees.
I was literally...
look at it, it's beautiful.
I was just telling the stories that I read online about this place, and while that was going on, I heard like what sounded like a scream out here. I heard some thuds upstairs, so...
Upstairs, that's good. I love when it's upstairs. ShopBZN.com, guys. Get your apparel now.
Yeah.
.co.
.co. Well, here's the thing, guys. This forest is very haunted, and people claim to see...
There's someone down there?
No.
Something's moved over there. Your father?
Steve.
Oh, it's Steve.
Oh. All right, sorry, Steve. My bad.
The investigation escalates as faint movement within the tree line fractures the silence. A dark, undefined form briefly surfaces before dissolving back into the forest without a trace. In the same breath, unfamiliar sounds begin to approach through the darkness, compressing the atmosphere. They both stand unsettled, confronting the possibility that the forest is no longer empty.
It looked like a blacked out shape of a head popped out from beyond that tree over there.
Oh, that's good. How exciting.
Okay, like I said, here's a laser. I want you to walk in front of this laser. Can you do that for me? All right, well, I saw something over there. Can you do it here? Can you poke your head out one more time?
The night unravels into pure unease as distant, unidentifiable sounds drift through the forest. An eerie scream, then a sharp whistle that breaks the silence with unsettling precision. Every attempt to call out only deepens the tension, as if the darkness is responding in return. As fear settles in completely, they are left with one undeniable feeling. Something unseen is now moving just beyond the reach of sight.
Bro said I don't want to go too far. Meanwhile, we're in another zip code. What's that?
What's what?
You didn't hear that?
What'd you hear?
Scream.
Really? Like far?
Just listen.
Or maybe I will fire a microphone.
Hello?
Whistle, whistle, whistle. Okay, okay, perfect. Stop. Who just whistled in the distance?
The channel Small Town Monster documents field encounters across remote regions focusing on unexplained Bigfoot reports. Its stories reveal no single consistent pattern as witnesses describe highly different forms. Some report towering beasts. Others describe unusual, distorted shapes and unexpected features. One observer described a dark, shaggy shape with an unnaturally heavy build and a warped human-like outline that seemed to hold stillness in an almost wrong way, leaving a lingering sense of unease long after it vanished.
But when I first saw it, it was actually up at the top. There's a hill back there, and it was up at the top of the hill. And I was about maybe 9 or 10 years old, maybe a little bit younger. And my cousin Sherry and I were, playing up in the woods there. And it was just before sunset, I remember. We heard this high-pitched whistling sound. I turned in the direction of where I thought the sound was coming from, and I saw this sort of white, amorphous shape that was half hidden by a pine tree.
Reports describe a black-haired figure with deep red eyes like burning embers in the dark. Another account from the Davis and Thomas area recalls the same presence crossing a road in unnatural silence, its movement wrong and deliberate, leaving a lingering sense that something unhuman had just passed through the night.
There's kind of this pervasive oddness to the area. I don't know what it is, but if you live here long enough, you know it.
The Hudson Valley is synonymous with strange phenomena, the Bigfoot phenomena, and many UFO reports around the Albany area and so forth. And wherever you have that rich history, you're going to have haunting stories and things like that. So it's a prime area for a researcher to delve into.
On the hillside, two strange impressions broke the still ground, far too wide and unnatural to resemble ordinary footwear. One sat between two trees, the other higher up, matching in shape like fragments of a larger presence. No trail followed them, only silence. Just isolated marks hinting that something passed through and disappeared without explanation.
And there was an article in this magazine in 1978, I believe, about Bigfoot sightings in the Hudson Valley. And at the time, I was very skeptical. I thought, I was interested in this stuff, But I was thinking, around here, I don't see that happening. I mean, I could see it in the Pacific Northwest or the Himalayas, but upstate New York, it didn't seem likely. But then my cousin, Barry, found some tracks in the snow that I thought were pretty strange. And they didn't look like bear tracks. They looked like very large humanoid tracks. A year later, I think it was, Barry had been trapping down in the swamp area near my parents' house.
What was seen on the return visit was immediately unsettling. Thin striped sticks had been arranged into a precise X between two trees, with no surrounding damage or natural cause. The placement felt deliberate, almost like a silent marker left behind, raising the disturbing question of who or what was present there.
There was snow on the ground, but it seemed to be sleeping. She had to go and do something for a moment, and then she came back, and when she came back, it was gone. She didn't reveal the story until much later when things started to heat up here with sightings. It was a very slow progression of things that happened that kind of built up. Something was taking my grandmother's trash bags from the back porch.
A short, fog-laced recording shows something dark shifting through the trees, briefly breaking into an open patch before disappearing again. Filmed during a casual outdoor search, the image is blurred by mist and distance, but the outline feels off. Unnaturally long arms, slow, deliberate movement. Some dismiss it as staged, others point to similar sightings reported nearby.
For games, etc., has to be considered. What I have done is that I've examined the grounds quite carefully and the actual lay of the land, that if somebody should approach it wearing a costume or with certain types of foot that would leave a large imprint. These particular people are very responsible. There is nothing unusual here. There's no kooks. There's nothing out of the ordinary. They're very responsible, down-to-earth people. I think that the observers are very definite in what they saw.
A separate account comes from near a ski trail, where a witness later returned to re-examine the location of the sighting. Using surrounding landmarks for scale, the figure was judged to be unusually large. Whether it was truly Bigfoot remains unresolved, leaving the experience suspended between doubt, interpretation, and possibility.
There was a woman named Barbara. She wanted to keep her last name anonymous, and she told me that she was driving home from Albany, and she got to the county line where there's a cornfield on one side and an open field on the other. And this, she said, 8 or 9 foot tall, reddish brown creature, bipedal creature, walked across the road in front of her car. She described it as moving very slowly and gracefully, its arms swinging. She said it looked like a highly evolved ape. She said it walked over into the cornfield and just kind of disappeared in the distance.
What began as a search for answers soon took an unexpected turn. While exploring the area where the mysterious activity had been reported, the team from the Travel Channel uncovered a trail of enormous footprints deeply pressed into the forest floor. The freshly disturbed ground suggested they had appeared only moments earlier. Whatever left them was still somewhere ahead, transforming the investigation into a pursuit of the unknown.
Bigfoot are probably about as wide as I am tall. They have very broad, muscular shoulders. Imagine encountering something that's 6'2" across and 8 foot tall.
We've got some fresh tracks down here. Looks like a large animal, but they're freshly compacted, so something came through here very recently. Yeah, the grass is compacted. There's been no spring upwards. They're new. Should we follow it?
Absolutely.
What'd you say? Let's do it.
The footprint drew immediate attention from Dr. Ali, a researcher known for studying mysterious track evidence. After carefully analyzing its shape and structure, he found characteristics that did not align with any known animal. Instead, the impression displayed features repeatedly associated with legendary Sasquatch reports. To Dr. Ali, this was more than an unusual track. It was the kind of evidence that fuels one of the wilderness's most enduring mysteries, suggesting something elusive may have passed through only moments before.
I really like this track. Typical Sasquatch I like it because there's no chance this could be a bear. Bears always have their middle toe the furthest forward, and the thumb, as it were, is relatively small, the pinky's large, but they're always behind that middle toe. And Sasquatches don't do that. What they have is a great big toe, which can even sometimes deviate. This is a beautiful track. I love this track. Also, it seems to be nicely wide at the heel. I like that wide heel. In humans, you only get that when you're a few months old. It doesn't last for very long. Also, no arch. You can see that it comes right back straight, which is a Sasquatch characteristic all over the place.
A sudden feeling swept through the investigators that their search was no longer one-sided. Somewhere ahead, something was watching. Moments later, a towering, hairy figure was spotted slipping between the trees. The team rushed to follow, but the encounter was frustratingly brief. Each glimpse lasted only seconds before the figure vanished again, moving through the forest with a speed that seemed almost impossible, just as the hairy man legends had always described. The forest had remained silent for hours, revealing nothing and answering even less.
You always hope to get something, but you have to be realistic. Yeah. There's a reason this creature has been elusive for so long. The hairy man is very good at evading humans. And it's a matter of luck, research, and opportunity whether we find any evidence of him.
Yeah. I always hope to get something. It's always a little disappointing when not, but
you've got to press on.
It's a long shot.
Got to press on, man.
Yeah.
Just when the search seemed destined to end in frustration, a chilling shape emerged on the thermal camera, a towering bipedal figure moving through the darkness. Its identity remained hidden, but its presence did not. For a brief moment, the investigators may have come face to face with the very mystery they had been chasing all along. At a notorious Bigfoot hotspot where chilling stories refuse to fade, the Animal Planet team gathered to uncover what might be stalking the wilderness. One witness shared an encounter she could never forget. While walking toward her car after visiting a friend, a horrifying scream suddenly tore through the night. It was nothing human. The sound struck so deeply that tears came instantly, while an overwhelming dread crawled through her body, leaving her trembling in absolute terror.
Renee's out in the woods right now, looking around to see if she can convince herself that Bigfoots are real. So keep your fingers crossed. But we three are here to listen to your Bigfoot encounters.
Five years ago, I was at a friend's house and was walking out of their door, jumped towards my car, and I heard this scream. It wasn't human, but it scared me so bad that I just immediately began to cry. Just stopped dead in my tracks and cried. It made my inside shake.
What began as a routine hunt deep in the Kisatchie wilderness suddenly became an encounter he would never forget. A distant figure drifted between the trees, drawing his attention. Through the scope, the shape sharpened into something far more disturbing. A massive, hair-covered creature moving through the forest. The longer he watched, the heavier the dread became. When the moment came to pull the trigger, he couldn't do it. Whatever stood before him belonged to a mystery far beyond explanation.
Been hunting in Kisatchie, and I seen a head coming through the woods, and I was going, oh, look at there's somebody walking through the woods without an orange hat on. So I put my scope on it, and I was like, I've never seen camouflage like that. I was like, wait a minute, that's not camouflage. That's hair. So I put my gun down, and I sat there for a minute, and I was like, whatever, I'm going to shoot it. Turned my scope up, and I put it on there. I was like, no, I'm not shooting it. I don't know what it is.
The next account recalls a roadside encounter that transformed a fleeting moment into a lifelong mystery. During a late-night drive, a massive hair-covered figure emerged from the darkness, its powerful frame impossible to ignore. Though the sighting lasted only seconds, its impact endured for years. Unable to shake what he had witnessed, the man devoted himself to searching for answers behind the Bigfoot phenomenon.
We left New Orleans about 9 o'clock, May 30th, 1994. As we're driving, we see a figure off to the right. We can tell that it's an upright figure about 7 feet tall. It's covered with what looks to be gray hair, and we could see a muscle definition beneath the hair. As soon as we passed it, I said, well, I think I saw a Bigfoot.
The forest dimmed quickly as the team pushed deeper, portable gear cutting through fading light as the trees swallowed the day. The channel Mosagi captures these deep forest expeditions where silence grows unnatural and the unknown feels close to breaking through. No wildlife appeared, only a heavy stillness pressing in with every step.
So far, we haven't sighted Bigfoot or nothing Bigfoot related. To be honest, we haven't even seen any animals, but I mean, the night is still young. It's only like, what is it, like 7 p.m. right now?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's starting to get late. That's when the animals come out and maybe possibly see Bigfoot.
As they moved deeper through the foggy forest, the campsite was still planned for the opposite side of the forest when a low growl rolled up from the direction of the lake, deep and distant, yet unmistakably alive. The sound carried through the trees like something massive shifting along the waterline. Unease spread as attention locked toward that unseen movement below.
Oh, shh. I heard something growling. From the lake, like literally like down that way.
As they moved further in search of answers, the forest tightened around them, every step sinking deeper into an uneasy quiet. Then a violent impact shattered the stillness nearby, sharp and heavy enough to bend attention instantly toward the dark. It didn't feel random, it felt directed, like something close had just answered their presence.
What's that? I don't know. Was something just thrown? That was big, whatever that was. That was f***ing massive. What was that?
I don't even know.
Pressing forward alone toward the dark tunnel with the goal of capturing something unsettling on camera, the deeper he went, the more the forest felt compressed and unnatural. Reports from his teammates about strange noises still echoed in his mind. Then a chilling realization set in. Something unseen was tracking his movements step by step. A sudden turn revealed nothing, but the presence remained close.
Go this way to the creepy, dark, scary tunnel, hoping I capture something creepy on camera. The guys kept saying that they were hearing some weird things in here. I don't know what kind of things, but I think I might find out. I felt like something was just following me, and I turned around.
The motion sensor snaps to life, and the feed fractures into sudden, uneasy stillness. In the brief interruptions of darkness, a pair of reflective eyes ignites, cold, deliberate, and unblinking, before vanishing again into the void. Cave camera footage captures a moment that was never meant to be seen clearly. Deep in the night, beyond the tree line and thick, tangled brush, something shifts where nothing should be moving. What remains is a massive silhouette, draped in heavy, hair-like texture, standing far too large to belong to any known creature. It does not retreat. Deep within the dense forest on this renewed expedition, Sasquatch Watchers, like a lone hiker and field explorer, returns to the remote woodland site where reports suggested two unidentified beings were active. Earlier recordings showed a partial figure slipping through darkness at the edge of vision before vanishing completely. Now, a sudden crash erupts nearby, forcing him to stop in place and listen closely, as if something had been waiting for him to come back.
The clip I did play before, I pulled up the other day and there was a creature of some sort run off. I think I got the tail end of it. I hadn't got to review the video, but I am coming back in here just to kind of... Oh! Hang on. Something crashed over here.
Moving carefully through the thick undergrowth, a lone field explorer circles the dense brush, scanning the ground as the forest tightens around him. A distant dog bark cuts through the silence. Something remains inside the thicket, unseen but clearly active. Another sharp crash erupts, as if something was struck or thrown from within. The presence feels uncomfortably close, tracking his movement through the brush. Unable to press deeper, he pulls back slowly, unsettled by how familiar this moment feels compared to the previous encounter.
If the wind is bad, I'm sorry. The storm is blowing in today. Hang on. I'm trying to circle around. Just see whatever that was. I gotta check for snakes. You can hear a dog barking off in the distance. Whoa, whoa. Something is in here, in this brush. There's something definitely in this brush. This is pretty wild.
Keep the camera rolling. Don't cut it yet. The forest feels heavier, the path ahead almost blocked by thick, tangled brush. Something massive has forced its way through here, bending and breaking the undergrowth. Deep inside, whatever moved through earlier wasn't small. It felt like something huge, possibly Bigfoot.
Here's the bird final. This right here, definitely new. All that in there is new. But yeah, the other day, I literally walked in the woods, something cut through the woods, two creatures.
Faint whoops echo from deep in the forest, answered almost instantly by another closer in the dark. A sharp knock cuts through the wind, followed by a heavy impact in the brush. The forest feels responsive now, not random. Then everything goes still. No wind, no sound, only the sense of being watched. Could something like Bigfoot be controlling this entire encounter from within the trees? In this chilling story featured on the YouTube channel Wild Dream Films, Davey shares a deeply personal experience rooted in faith, fear, and the unexplained. Growing up in a quiet small town within a conservative Christian family, he was known as someone calm, grounded, and strongly connected to his beliefs after being raised in an Assemblies of God church. But after starting at a new school in August 2006 and becoming part of a close-knit group of friends, life slowly took a darker turn as strange and unsettling events began unfolding around him.
Someone joked it's like straight out of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. No one wanted to admit something's not right here. What is that? I'm used to hearing animals. That's like nothing I've ever heard before in my life.
While exploring deep in the woods late at night, the group suddenly realizes something is terribly wrong. One of them quietly points out that the sound of the creek guiding them through the darkness has completely vanished. Instantly, the forest feels unnaturally still. As the silence grows heavier, unease spreads through the group as they realize they may have wandered too far. Some want to turn back, but curiosity keeps pulling them forward until someone spots a strange pile of rocks hidden ahead in the darkness.
The rocks over there. Come on. Fine, but 10 minutes and I'm out of here, man.
For whatever reason, there was another pile of rocks just a little bit further ahead. And I think it was me who said, well, why don't we just look in that last pile of rocks? As we started walking up this hill, we came to like a clearing, a small circle.
Without warning, a harsh animalistic noise rolls through the forest, stopping the group in their tracks. It doesn't sound natural, more like a violent warning echoing somewhere beyond the trees. At first, they assume it's far off in the distance, but the atmosphere shifts almost immediately. The woods suddenly feel tighter, heavier, as if something is moving toward them at impossible speed. Within seconds, the terrifying sound seems practically beside them, hidden in the darkness and circling closer with every passing moment. What do you think was hiding in those woods that night? Would you have kept going deeper into the darkness, or turned back the moment the forest went silent? Let me know your theories below.
The sound to me sounded like this grunt or this growl. To me, it sounded like something far away that was making a noise saying to something like, "Hey, I'm here."
Exposing the strange ventures into Rochester, Ohio, where Brian's quiet rural life has been anything but ordinary. A longtime resident and retired paramedic, he has experienced unsettling encounters with a mysterious creature, sightings that have left tracks in the snow and even intruded onto his family's property. What began as everyday life in a peaceful town has turned into a chilling confrontation with the unknown.
It was in the first couple of weeks of the month, and it was before Christmas. We had a trace of snow. The ground was frozen, but again, not much more than a trace of snow. Sometime after midnight, I was laying in bed on the back of the bedroom. I had French doors that opened to the outside, and I kept hearing this sound. It was a sound, a thunk. Every 15, 20 seconds, thunk, you know.
A story that tests the boundaries between reality and the unexplained. Just past midnight, he lay restless, the glass doors framing the shadowed yard. Outside came a slow, deliberate pounding. Rising, he saw his Malamute pacing the chain, teeth chattering, eyes alert. Something unseen was stirring, a silent warning in the tense night. His eyes swept the darkened clearing, and there it stood near a tall pine, towering and imposing.
And just hitting the end of that chain. He'd never done that. He'd never done that. And I'm like, God, something's wrong. So I do on a pair of pants and a shirt, and I grabbed my coat, grabbed my 45 and a spotlight. And I went out because this was something that never happened. So I got out there, and I got there, and just from the street light, I kicked on the light, and the light from the street light, his head was down, his tail was down, his hackles were up, and he was just pacing. And I'd never seen him like that.
Powerful hands gripped the tree, bending it slightly, while a pair of glowing eyes fixed on him. Every slow, deliberate breath seemed to fill the night, a presence both otherworldly and impossible to ignore. He scanned the snow, flattened and strangely disturbed. A few feet off the path, enormous prints hinted at something massive.
Panning the spotlight. Now, I'm not very tall, 5'5", and when you hear something running, I'm looking at about 4 feet. I'm panning from the left to the right, just looking to see if I see anything. And this is a very, back then the spotlights were bigger, and it was powerful. And I panned to the right, and then I said, okay, I don't see anything. I started panning to the left again, and I went up thinking, oh, okay, I don't know why. I panned up, and as I continued to pan across,
the trail led to the tracks, strides far longer than any humans, as if the creature had bounded across the frozen ground with immense power. He never imagined the impossible could be real, until that night. Something unearthly had appeared at the edge of his home, a force that defied explanation. From then on, every venture into the woods demanded caution, weapons in hand, and a mind braced for the unknown. Through his research and the countless accounts he had gathered, he grasped the staggering speed of these beings.
Its hands, not paws, hands, are pushing down this branch on this pine tree. and it's looking at me. You can see its eyes. They were kind of like a reddish amber, red, and I'm staring at it, and it's staring at me. I'm watching it breathe. I could see its chest move up and down. I could see the steam coming out of its mouth.
Faster than any human could react, they could close ground in an instant, their movements precise and unnerving. Watching one in the night, he sensed an almost sentient awareness, something that measured, observed, and thrived on the tension it created. He lived just south of the tracks when the encounter began. Crossing the field toward the hill, he traced the howl, but it shifted, echoing from nowhere. At the crest, the scale of what he faced became terrifying, and his weapon felt useless against the shadows. Judy, a veteran nurse who had cared for some of the most fragile patients, returned home late one night.
Now, he grew up to become a Marine, so, he was pretty brave kid. He always has been. And we walked up on the railroad tracks. Now, if you're not familiar with how trains on railroad tracks run, when they run down the tracks, they'll push the snow to the rails, but the snow on the stones usually stays there more than it does on the ties. And we started walking, and we followed those tracks. You could catch them for almost a mile down the railroad tracks, and then we lost them.
Shaken and pale. Something was out there, she murmured, her voice trembling. Near the bridge, a strange, unnerving creature had appeared, leaving her with a lingering sense of fear that no explanation could ease.
She goes, "That dog thingy." She goes, "I saw it by the bridge." I'm like, "Stop. What did you see? Tell me what you saw." She goes, "I was traveling from north to south," and she goes, "As I got to the bridge," she goes, "this thing walked right out in front of me, across the road to the guardrail of the bridge." And she goes, "It was about 7 feet tall." She goes, "It was walking on two legs." And she goes, it was kind of matted, and it had like blood on it, and it was wet. And she said it just turned and looked at her.
She described a towering figure, over 7 feet tall, moving upright with uncanny agility. Its tangled, glistening fur and German shepherd-like head, ears alert, locked onto her. Frozen in the car, she watched as it leapt over the bridge into the shadowy creek below. Fear gripped her, a moment that defied reason and lingered like a nightmare.
Looking at something that shouldn't exist, but it does. And now it came to the house. I never walked in the woods again without being armed, ever. And I've done a lot of research over the years. I still didn't know what to call it. And in 2000, I think it was 15 or 2016, they had the first ever Dogmen Symposium in Defiance.
He never let the children venture into the yard once darkness edged the sky. Play while there's still light, he warned, the approaching dusk a silent barrier. After that, the night was off limits. No flashlights, no wandering, just an unspoken rule to respect the shadows and keep both the children and their grandfather safe. On Small Town Monsters, Dan Keating, a veteran investigator of strange and unexplained phenomena, pursued the stories most would ignore. He carefully recorded witness accounts, captured haunting photos, and documented locations with video and audio, hunting for evidence while it was still fresh. His credibility and dedication made him a trusted figure in the community.
In 2010, of course, Vancouver hosted the Winter Olympics, and we had a gentleman from NBC News Atlanta who, as a child, grew up in BC, then his parents moved stateside, and he wanted to do a piece on Sasquatch. So we just wandered down a trail, and then he was asking us to relay stories, history of the area and Sasquatch sightings. And then he asked us about the wood knock thing. So we told him a little bit about that. It's an assumption that a lot of people make that the They utilize banging rocks together, rock on wood to communicate with each other. So in any case, he decided that, well, let's do a demonstration.
With locals turning to him to uncover the truth behind mysterious events, every investigation added depth to the world of the unexplained. Some are drawn by the thrill of the unknown, eager to be the ones who shine a light on hidden evidence. They tread the path of trailblazers like Grover C.R. and Dr. Jeff Meldrum.
So I wandered around, found a suitable piece of wood. He set his camera up, and it's on what they call Deer Lake Trail. And so behind him was a very steep bluff. So he's got his camera set up. He's filming. I do a knock, and we stand there patiently waiting for a reply. Well, I'll be damned if we got one. But the best part of the whole thing was this gentleman from Atlanta. He's bending over looking at the camera, and he stands up and he goes, "Y'all heard that, right?"
Scholars who risked reputation and scrutiny just to engage with the elusive world of Bigfoot and push the boundaries of what's considered possible.
People who very much want to solve the mystery and would love to be able to claim that they're the ones who brought the evidence to light. People who follow in the footsteps of folks like Grover Krantz. And here, of course, I'm thinking of like a Dr. Jeff Meldrum, who very much put his academic reputation on the line in order to even have a dialogue with the Bigfoot community. And I think part of it is just seeing, that blanket term of Bigfoot community, of seeing how many different smaller camps exist under that umbrella, to me is endlessly fascinating.
Daryl, an experienced Bigfoot researcher and outdoorsman, kept watch through his scope. He first noticed a large, pale movement through the brush, then glimpsed the conical head and broad shoulders of what he believed was a wood ape.
Originally from Northeast Texas, served the United States Air Force Intelligence, 6 years active duty. Well, I'm originally from an area in Northeast Texas, Cass County, Texas, which is directly adjacent to Miller County, Arkansas, which has a long history of reported encounters with an upright, hairy, bipedal animal. And so I heard stories when I was 4 and 5, 6 years old.
Since then, he stayed alert, hearing wood knocks all around, signaling something moving just out of sight. In 1975, just after graduating high school, Bob Strain ventured into the remote reaches of Idaho's Salmon River Wilderness on an elk hunting trip with his family. Perched on a ridge, scanning the rugged landscape, he expected only the usual sights of wildlife. But then, a massive, shadowy figure emerged into view.
2 minutes or so, that's when I saw it. Looked like, I swear, it just looked like a shoulder with a head, and it was like, and it was really obscured. I mean, there was a lot of leaves and vegetation between me and it, and it was using it, and I could just see, because I'm looking through 6 power now, my scope. I mean, I'm sitting there looking, and it's like it moved. I mean, and that's when chills went up my body, because I could see this white mass
moving with an eerie, deliberate grace. It was a moment that would mark the beginning of a lifelong fascination with the unknown. Out of the shadows of the wilderness, a massive, jet-black figure crept on all fours, silent, powerful, and entirely without gear. When it reached a clearing, it rose upright on 2 legs. For the young West Texas hunter, the sight was both terrifying and mesmerizing.
So we turned around and kind of just spread out for a little bit, went in about 30 yards maybe. And we were standing there, I was standing on this little rock, and I was looking to my right. And I went bent down, and I could see something black, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I says, okay, so I stood up, and I'm looking at it, and I leaned to the left. It leaned to the left. I leaned back to the right. It leaned to the right, and I says, oh boy. Wow. I says, it's right there. So I took off after it.
A moment that upended everything he thought he knew about the wild. For decades, the memory quietly lingered, a puzzle he never connected to anything larger.
But if they're around and you shut that music off, all of a sudden you get like knock, 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 knock. Like, hey,
when you hear your first wood knock, you'll be like, oh, that's what a wood knock sounds like. Because there's nothing else. No, it's like, and you know something with a hand did that. Whether it's a popping noise they do with their hands or that it's a rock clack, or you'll know it. And one of the most terrifying things you'll hear is a tree break, where they'll take a large tree and they'll break it off, and it's just this crack, 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 pow.
In 2002, curiosity led him to an early Bigfoot forum, where sharing the story sparked a revelation. Forum members suggested he had likely witnessed something extraordinary, a Bigfoot encounter, and it awakened a deep, lasting interest in the mysterious.
A system with the string traps so that if an animal, an ape, walked through these string traps, the tag would affix itself to the animal. Essentially, the animal would self-tag itself. And that is something that in all the literature we've looked at, and we've tried to figure this out. We can find no examples of any biologist using a system where the animal put the radio telemetry device on its body through what it was doing in the environment, and then that biologist was able to track the animal. But that's what we did. The string trap was actually very near the cabin we were staying in. It walked through the trap, the tag affixed itself.
The approach to the unexplained came from a unique perspective. Skepticism was common, yet proving Bigfoot's existence was never the goal. The true focus was on preserving the wilderness, protecting its habitats so that wildlife and the delicate balance of the entire ecosystem could continue to thrive.
For miles around. It had a range. We were picking up signals much further away than we were expecting. And it really helped us establish a working idea of how large the range is for at least that animal that tagged itself. And you start going through the kinds of animals that could have done that. It's a pretty short list. Maybe an owl or some kind of flying animal went through there and could have just randomly hit the string. However, in the course of trying to figure out how to deploy the tag onto the animal, we did tests with the system that we were using, which was basically a hollowed out cockle burr, some glue from a rat trap. Those were really ineffective attaching to feathers.
In the past decade, Bigfoot has captured renewed attention, appearing on screens and online, sparking curiosity once faded in the 80s and 90s. People are searching for more than the everyday, drawn to mysteries, hidden worlds, and the unknown that lies just beyond sight. On DMAT UK, the BFRO team confronts a story that seems almost unbelievable. Lorraine, a practical farm girl, claims she saw a massive hair-covered figure peering into the doorway of an abandoned trailer in broad daylight. In this part of town, such creatures are said to be daring, appearing near homes without fear. Standing at the exact spot near Moose Lake, Lorraine retraces every detail: her path, the parked cars, the moment she first glimpsed the towering figure, giving the team a chance to measure its size and distance, and forcing them to face the chilling possibility that what she saw was no ordinary misidentification.
Today I'm meeting with Lorraine, one of the witnesses from our town hall meeting last night. Lorraine is a down-to-earth farm girl. What she saw was a large, hair-covered figure peering into the windows of an abandoned trailer. Sasquatches in this particular area seem to be very bold. They're out during the day, and we have numerous reports of them actually peeking in windows. I want to see how big this thing was and what distance she saw it at in case there's a misidentification.
Lorraine guided the team to the trailer, pointing to the exact doorway where the towering figure had lingered, its hand pressed against the frame as if trying to peer inside. The moment it turned toward them, the scale became undeniable. Careful measurements revealed the creature's head nearly brushed the top ledge, an astonishing 9 feet of sheer height. Lorraine's words caught in awe. The shoulders, the massive head, the sheer presence, it was impossible to mistake. In that instant, Cliff realized this was no ordinary sighting. It was a confrontation with something truly immense and unnervingly bold.
Well, I was heading to Moose Lake, and I saw these cars. Then I glanced over there, and I saw that thing. He had his hand on one side of the windows, and he was kind of looking in there, like a nosy person. Then he turned, and he kind of looked this way.
Let's go over to the trailer and I can take some measurements and try to figure out how big that guy you saw
He was big.
Well, let's go take a look.
Sure, fine.
Imagine a creature nearly 2 feet from chin to crown, its sheer size impossible to ignore. Lorraine had never seen anything so immense. In this area, these beings are known to peer into windows, driven by curiosity or past encounters that reinforce the behavior. This towering male moved with purpose, a bold intelligence in every glance, leaving the team both unsettled and awed by the sheer presence of something so extraordinary.
These Sasquatches are looking in windows because they're wondering what's going on inside. Obviously, this big male Sasquatch has had some sort of positive reinforcement in the past. There was something interesting inside some window at some point to make it start doing that on a habitual basis.
Now Renee and Cliff joined forces as they made their way to meet Christy and her husband Dale, drawn by the chilling encounter she described at the town hall. While out hunting with her companions, a massive figure had suddenly surged from the brush, vanishing almost as quickly as it appeared, leaving an eerie stillness behind. With the location near Bobo's recent investigation, the team picked him up first, as they approached the spot where the ordinary world had collided with something vast, mysterious, and undeniably real.
Christy and her husband Dale. At the town hall meeting, Christy said she was out hunting with her family when something large suddenly jumped up from the brush and ran past them. Since the location is so close to where Bobo was investigating, we decided to pick him up before heading to the location. You're alive!
At the clearing, Christy showed the team where it had all unfolded. Christy recalled riding along on ATVs when the girls darted into the woods and her husband followed. Then, without warning, a massive figure emerged into the open, its every step shaking the earth beneath them, torn between awe and disbelief as the creature moved with terrifying speed and undeniable power. In that moment, the reality of what they'd seen was inescapable, an encounter that left her heart racing and the memory etched with raw, unshakable fear.
So this is where it happened?
Yeah, right here.
Why don't you walk us through exactly what did happen?
We were on our four-wheelers. The girls ran in the woods, and my husband, Dale, got off the four-wheeler, and he followed.
When I walked in, I went right in front of it, and then that's when it jumped up and ran away.
I seen it, the whole side of it, come through this little clearing. Every time it took a step, four-wheelers were just shaking. My heart almost stopped. I knew what it was right away, but I didn't want to believe it. And it was one of the scariest things ever.
To grasp the enormity of the sighting, the team placed one member where the figure had stood, and as they compared, the scale of what she had seen became undeniable. Locals spoke of a giant that appeared again and again in these woods, and standing there, the team could almost feel its lingering presence. There was no mistaking it. This was something immense, intelligent, and disturbingly real. 8 encounters later, the pattern stays unbroken. Different forests, different nights, yet the same unseen presence lingers just beyond reach. Whether it watches, follows, or waits remains unanswered. But one truth is clear. These places were never empty. If you made it this far, you felt it too. Stay aware, stay curious, because something out there already knows you were watching.